Welcome to Napa Valley Inside Out. I'm Latif Hasan, and I am delighted to be hosting this podcast, shining a light on one of the most beautiful and coveted lifestyles in the world. If you're interested in developing a property, planting a vegetable garden, making olive oil, fashion, architecture, interior design, county rules and regulations, biking paths, art, getting into the wine business, farming practices, the tax benefits of owning a vineyard, or the ultimate private tours and tastings, and all the fabulous annual cultural events we enjoy here, and so much more, then you won't want to miss this show. Every week I will be interviewing amazing talent, vintners, entrepreneurs, leaders, consultants, festival organizers, and well-known personalities in the Valley. They will share their knowledge, experience, advice, goals, passions, and their best-kept secrets. Hello everybody, Mark Harmon is the founder of Auberge Resorts Collection, with resorts in the US, Mexico, Costa Rica, West Indies, Nicaragua, Greece, and of course Napa Valley. And today he's going to talk to us about his family's involvement in hospitality in Napa Valley and what makes Napa Valley so special. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
It's been a long time.
It has been a long time, and it's great to see you, and it's wonderful to see all the things you've done. You've built such a strong brand here in the Napa Valley. You've got to be so proud of all the things that you've done.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Oh, it's a great honor to have you. So you and I met, I believe, back in 2002 at a wine auction magnum party.
Right? I'm surprised you remembered that.
No,
there was a lot. Those magnums are pretty powerful.
It was a really fun night up at Ray Signorello's. But since then, you have been very, very busy building on the Auberge international portfolio.
Yes, that's right.
And what I know of you is that you always have fun along the way.
Absolutely. One of my titles at Auberge Resorts is Chief Adventure Officer. So I get out and have a lot of fun. That's my duty to do that.
You'll have to teach me how to do that. So let's go back to your father and Claude Rouas, who started this whole Auberge resort. They started with a restaurant. I think it was back in 1981.
1981, that's right.
In Rutherford, and they built the restaurant.
Yes.
And then tell us what happened.
Well, it's a great story. First of all, my dad was doing real estate development in places like Lake Tahoe and Hawaii and so forth, and got to know Claude, who had found a piece of property here in the Napa Valley, 50 acres overlooking the valley, and Claude had this dream of building a Provence-style country inn in the Napa Valley. Now, the Napa Valley, of course, at that time probably had more orchards and vineyards, but he and my dad were introduced by common friends, and my dad on the development side and Claude on the restaurant side formed a wonderful partnership, and they were dear, dear friends. And Claude really had a vision for opening I think was the leader or a pioneer in what's become the creative, innovative cuisine of the Napa Valley. Mm-hmm. He brought out a chef from New York, Masa, who was this classically trained French chef, but who delivered the food with the precision of a Japanese artisan. And it was the nouvelle cuisine, but then another step beyond that, very creative cuisine. And really, subsequent to that, you have restaurants like, obviously, the French Laundry, known as the best restaurant in the country, and a whole progeny of restaurants that came after that. So Claude is brilliant, a pioneer in the business, and for me, coming up and seeing that, it was so exciting to see what was happening here in the Valley. After the restaurant opened, we built another set of cottages. 24 opened in 1984, another 24 opened in 1986, and we added 2 cottages for the 50 rooms that we have in the 90s.
And it's still going strong. So highly coveted. Yeah,
it's a wonderful place, and I think that part of the charm is that it for me really captures the essence of the romantic escape to the wine country. Yeah. And we all love romance. We all love reconnecting with people. And Napa Valley is more of an adult playground than it is a family playground. So we've had couples people come up and celebrate different occasions. You know, it's a little bit about just living the good life here in the Napa Valley, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. I love that. That property is just exquisite.
Thank you.
And you were a lawyer when all this was going on.
Yes, a reformed lawyer now.
So what happened? How did you make that transition?
So, you know, I took on the practice of law as a way to get started in my business career. I knew that because my father was a lawyer, that it was a great launching pad. And it proved to be, and I lasted, I think, almost 6 years, and then decided to form a development company. And I started developing commercial real estate, some residential properties, and so forth, but I always gravitated back to hotels. I loved hotels. I loved the enduring quality of building something that will last, that will engage the guests and create, you know, a wonderful experience. So that was where I ended up. And watching what my father and Claude did, we bought the San Ysidro Ranch down in Santa Barbara and redeveloped that property into a Relais and Chateau property. And then in 1998, I formed the management company, which is Auberge Resorts Collection. And the reason I formed a management company is that I wanted to build properties and I needed somebody to manage those.
Right, yeah, and you wanted to control the style, right?
That's right, yeah, absolutely. And our fundamental principle is that each property should exist on its own with its own character, its own characteristics, and really reflect the beauty of the surroundings. We've focused on resorts. We'll do some urban properties as well over time, but you take a spectacular setting and you want something that feels like it belongs there, that really complements the land. And to me, that was always a labor of love, working with great designers, working, you know, with a really fantastic operating team to create an experience that each time was different.
Awesome. So, you've been very lucky with your teams, to be honest, when you think about how many resorts you have in so many different locations.
We have, and I think that we've been lucky in that we've always had a family culture, you know, a culture that really rewards people in the sense that they feel wanted. We give them a lot of opportunity to express themselves. You know, the company has never been about strict rules and regulations when it comes to interacting with the guests, within reason, of course, but, you know, more about expressing your personality and your character and bringing in the stories about the place and about the experiences, whether it's the wine or the you know, the beach and our resorts in Cabo and so forth, all the different aspects of the locations that our staff can bring to life for the guests.
Oh, I think it's extraordinary.
It's
so special. Tell me, what was the valley like back then? When you first started out,
You know, one thing I'll always remember is that when you drove up to the Napa Valley, coming through the Carneros region, there was not a single vine out there, which is remarkable. Right? So when you started turning there at the Sears Point cutoff and coming all the way up through the city of Napa, you didn't see a single vine. So over the last 30 years, we've seen Carneros, of course, now completely blanketed with vineyards, and it produces some of the best wines out there. But another thing about the Napa Valley that I really appreciate is that even though there has been change, the Board of Supervisors and the people of Napa have protected its agricultural character. And it really fundamentally has not changed much. Of course, there's a lot more Cabernet grapes, and there are a few more homes here and there, and obviously, gosh, well over 400 wineries. But they're all done with extraordinary quality and protecting the agricultural character of the Napa Valley. And that, to me, is the most important thing about, you know, this could be covered with houses and strip centers and so forth. And if they didn't have the zoning and the foresight to protect it, you know, we wouldn't be enjoying this this today.
Yeah, I had Andy Beckstoffer on. He talked about that. We are so blessed for the Ag Preserve.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, very strict with that. So when how involved were you in the designing of these resorts?
Well, that's something that I take a lot of personal interest in. And here in the Napa Valley, for example, with Calistoga Ranch, which opened in 2004, we started development in 2000, and it took quite some time to plan the resort. When I first went to go look at it with Robert Radovan and Bill Criswell, I said, this is crazy. This is a campground. And there were some RVs and so forth parked in, and saying, how are we going to turn this into a luxury resort? Well, there were some zoning opportunities there in the county that you couldn't duplicate anywhere else, and it was grandfathered in as a commercial development so that we could build something. Now we had to figure out what that was going to be, and we had to use a 400 square foot module, which had to be literally trucked in, and those became the guest rooms. So the thinking was, well, let's put a couple of them together. We have an 800 square foot room. That's a suite. That's a beautiful. And then we put together the decks. And then we thought about what's been done in Asia, for example. And you have the idea that there's a sleeping pavilion and a living pavilion and an outdoor space. And that was the inspiration. And working with Scott Lee, who's a very talented architect with SB Architects in San Francisco, we said, but we want it to reflect nature. We want this to feel like it belongs there. So the shingle siding and the outdoor decks, everything was subservient to nature. It was about bringing the outdoors in and really enjoying this beautiful place. And I love Calistoga Ranch. It's a great getaway, and we like to call it the summer camp for adults.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? I was around for that. That was such a fun time. And so they left the trees in place.
Yes.
The trees actually come through these. Well, they weren't RVs because they were brand new, right? But it was zoned RV.
Right, correct.
And you couldn't have anything other than that in there, which you did an amazing job.
Well, quick story on that. We actually, weren't constrained as you would normally be in building a house to say it's going to go exactly here, because you have to do your surveys and you have to tell the county it's going to go here. Because these were mobile, you could put them anywhere. So what we did is we built out of PVC pipe a model of the room, and we carried it around, 6 of us, and we said, yeah, should we put it here, or should we put it there? Wait, there's a tree there, let's put the tree there, let's move it around. So it was extraordinary. We could save all of the, the beautiful trees and really preserve the environment. It was fun.
Oh, it was first class, is first class, and so innovative.
Thank you.
So interestingly enough, though, back in those days, Calistoga did not have 5-star hotels.
No.
And that really is very much 5-star.
Yes.
Because the Hollywood movies, the celebrities all moved up there as soon as it was finished, right?
Yep, absolutely.
They started staying there. So were you a little concerned about whether you'd be able to garner that market?
We were. I thought that the extraordinary setting at Calistoga Ranch would bring people there, and that proved to be the case. And it's been a hideaway for a lot of people. For example, musicians love booking there. We've had everybody from Mick Jagger to to others that just come on a spur of the moment, and they love it there. And it's very peaceful, it's quiet, and it's a hideaway, and you can get away. It's a private resort. The restaurant's not open to the public. Now, when it came to developing Solage, which we opened in 2007, I actually started that project in 1998, and I thought that the city of Calistoga would be a challenge because it's so far north in the valley. And it's a little bit of a Western-style town. It doesn't quite have that sophistication, which is one of the characteristics I happen to love about it. So, we had to think long and hard about what sort of concept we would bring in to build Solage. And concept was pretty simple, working with Howard Backen, who's certainly, the king of Napa wine country, of wine country in general. He's such a talented architect and a wonderful man. We came up with the idea that this would be Napa Barn meets San Francisco Loft.
Oh, I love it. And you did achieve that.
Well, it's a contemporary design, but it feels very comfortable in that environment. And it was very fun, social, active space with lots of activities, great big swimming pool and spa with its own geothermal pool. The spa buildings are heated by geothermal water. We have a great gym and an outdoor program there. We have a fitness program that brings in people from the community. So it's been a blast.
I love that. I think it's great. I was just saying to Greg, actually, I think it's wonderful that people who move here full-time or part-time, it's a wonderful way to integrate into the community because you meet all the locals there that are members and working out. Yeah. It's been a very, very, very popular resort ever since it opened.
Well, it's great. When we opened it, we wanted it to be very approachable and, a part of the community. So, the restaurant, you walk by the bocce courts to get there. You don't have to walk through a lobby, like you might in a traditional hotel.
Right.
We wanted it to be open to all. And the menu, we decided it should be something that is, very approachable again. Small plates, our original chef, Brandon, who was fantastic, had everything from fish tacos to Lucky Pig, which is this beautiful, roast that you put on mushu pork things. And, it's just great. So it was approachable, was not fancy, not white tablecloth. And we, as a result, we've had, tremendous support from the community. It's great.
Now, is there any extra land there where they can develop to put extra residences, for example?
No, it was just zoned for a hotel.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been nice to do some homes there, but it's only a hotel. Now, as you know, across the street, the Four Seasons is developing a resort with 88 rooms and I believe 24 homes.
20. They've sold
20.
19.
Yeah, so it's been very successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and many of the projects that we've been involved in also have a residential component. And it's a very important way to make the economics of building these expensive and high-end luxury hotels really work, because it helps pay for everything and you can provide an additional level of service and amenities when you can sell real estate as well.
Oh, so the homes, of course, actually, because they are all up on 1/4 acre up there, right?
Right.
Incredible sale prices.
Yeah, it's the price per square foot is almost what we achieved at Calistoga Ranch.
Isn't that unbelievable? Yeah.
Yep.
So the 4 bedrooms, they're not very big, but the 4 bedrooms sold for $5,660,000 and $5,770,000.
That's great.
And the 3 bedrooms, $4,250,000. But there's 19 out of 20 sold. And my understanding is that the people that bought them were not looking for real estate in Napa Valley.
Yeah.
They bought them because they're Four Seasons.
Yeah, and it's a great brand, and they'll do a wonderful job. Now, of course, it can't be called Four Seasons because of the anti-formula ordinance in the city of Calistoga. But at the same time, everybody knows it's Four Seasons. And I think the thing that's so attractive there is that you'll be able to put your home back into a rental pool.
Yes.
You'll get full services at your home, whether it's housekeeping or security or whatever. And on top of that, you have all the amenities of the resort. So the spa and the pool and the winery and so forth. And you're in Napa Valley. Yeah, I can't go wrong.
I actually think that the residential component is very successful for all the reasons that you just said.
Yes.
And the lock up and leave. And I think all the people that I talk to now, and including myself, having a second home, you feel that you have to go there whenever you get downtime. And then when you get there, you are dealing with plumbing or, all of that, right?
Yeah.
The lock up and leave is very attractive. The other part that I find really attractive is that the resorts are actually able to rent them out for a large amount of money.
Absolutely.
And even though you pay a good amount of that for the management, it's still a fantastic return.
I think so, yeah. Also, I think that you see this trend in a lot of resort areas where people are moving in closer to town, closer to the shops and the restaurants and so forth, and that sometimes being out of town, it's not as convenient as being right there, especially if you like to travel or you're an empty nester and that sort of thing.
And the lock up and leave and not worry, and the resort facilities and not having to drive to play tennis or go to the gym, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
It really is.
Absolutely.
And then we have the Rosewood Hotel coming.
Yes, and I looked at that site probably 20 years ago. And it was a very challenging site.
Yep, it is.
Because it's a steep road to go up. You've got to bring all your infrastructure up there. So, but I know that Rosewood will do a terrific job. That family has exquisite taste. They have developed properties now all over the world. And, I've just sort of have a glimpse of the plans, and I think it's going to be extraordinary. You're up on top of Little Mount Washington there. No, it's not Mount Washington. I guess it's Diamond Hill is what they call
Diamond Mountain.
Diamond Mountain above and Diamond Hill down below.
Diamond Hill, that makes sense.
So, So, they have very good views, although there's a lot of tree cover up there. And I'm really excited to see what they come up with. It should be quite nice.
Apparently it's going to be their flagship.
Yeah, I believe it.
It'll be gorgeous.
Yeah. I had Sonia Chan come out and stay with us at Calistoga Ranch, and she's the one who runs Rosewood. And
she's the daughter, right?
She's the daughter,
yes,
yeah. And she seemed really entranced with the Napa Valley. She loved the experience, and I was thrilled to see that because For us in the Napa Valley, it's about bringing together the best of the best and really creating this as a destination. There'll be only a handful of new properties. It's actually extraordinary that the Four Seasons and the Rosewood are, two of the only properties to be developed in the last 10 years. So.
And you started this trend in Calistoga, so thank you.
Anytime.
As scary as it must have been, I tell you.
Yeah.
So how do you see the Napa Valley today by comparison to how it was when you first came here?
So, I think, as I mentioned before, it's great to see that the fundamentals of it being a community around wine and around the vines and around agriculture and staying close to the land will always be there. And I think one thing that's extraordinary is what's happened with land values. Because we look back 30 years and see where we are today. Who could imagine that vineyard acreage today is selling for millions of dollars an acre? Yet, it's interesting, and sometimes you get a local perspective and it's hard to see beyond that. But if you go to France, to the famed wine regions of Bordeaux or Burgundy, the prices there for those acreages are a multiple of what we're paying here in the Napa Valley.
Yeah.
So, if you look to cities like New York and where pricing is, and you see where San Francisco is, you realize that there's a long way to go to catch up, and that we're a much better place to live than in New York or in the south of France, I think.
Yeah, the real estate values here for luxury homes are not high by comparison to the rest of the Bay Area. They really aren't.
No, they're not. That secret will come out pretty soon, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, it's amazing the increase in tourism that we have here.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, I always say it's like Rome. All roads lead to Napa Valley.
They do.
How do you think that what do you think that Napa Valley will look like in the next 10 to 20 years?
Yeah, I think that that the premium on the quality of the experience and the demographic, the people that we attract to this experience, will lead us to an even greater level of quality. And I think focusing on quality is the most important thing. Now, along with that, you're going to have some issues that we've got to deal with. For example, worker force housing. And that is a huge problem with the valley. And of course, you've got labor issues with picking the grapes and, processing them and so forth. How are you going to find those people to live here as this county becomes more and more expensive? And we grapple with those issues all the time because of our three properties here. We're drawing from the city of Napa, from Santa Rosa, and beyond because it's not affordable for the workforce to live in the valley. When we built Solage, we dedicated a parcel to the Calistoga Affordable Housing Group. And we donated a fully entitled piece of land that had all the infrastructure to it. So it was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we said, please build affordable housing here. I think it's those sort of things that, and they did.
And they did?
And they're 28 units, and they're an integral part of the community. They're dedicated to the community, not to us. We can put into the lottery for people who work for us, but it's open to the community. And I think that you have to find that sort of thinking to solve some of the issues that are going to come about. You've got traffic, you've got workforce housing, and so forth. So it's important. The County Board of Supervisors has always been thoughtful in thinking about the future here, and I think these issues are going to come to the forefront in the next 10 years.
And as a very savvy developer, what thoughts might you have for St. Helena and resolving their challenges?
Well, it's interesting. I think St. Helena took a somewhat limited development stance. And then at the same time, you look at Yountville and what's happened there. And the reason Yountville is solvent and doing great is that they have a number of hotel rooms that are paying the room tax. When we opened Solage, we told the city, which was not in the strongest financial shape, that we would be contributing well over $1 million a year to the city's general fund. And in fact, that turned out to not only be true, but significantly more than that from the room tax. So a little bit of development goes a long way in helping these cities achieve their goals of having, great schools, great roads, a great quality of life. And I think that if hotels and resorts can work hand in hand with the cities to realize that goal, and St. Helena can focus on that, as they have done with Las Alcobas, for example, that we're going to see some positive results for the city.
I think the part of the problem too with St. Helena is it seems to be like a bottleneck there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the other towns, you can come in up Petrified Forest Road to come into Calistoga, but poor old St. Helena. If you do build hotels there, which they really do need, I suppose. The traffic is just already, and there's just nothing, there's no way around it.
That's too bad they can't do a loop road around it.
I know, wouldn't it be fantastic?
We turn the main street into a walking street. How great would that be?
Just like Yountville. That's what I love about Yountville.
Yeah,
it's so great.
Absolutely.
So they had financial problems. Calistoga had financial problems. I'm not sure about Napa, but they resolved them with hotels.
With hotels.
Yeah.
And they've really been positive contributors. All of our properties who really see people going out, they don't stay at the properties. People might dine one night at the Auberge du Soleil, but they're going to the other restaurants in towns, and they're contributing to the local economy.
Yeah. Tell me, you were working on a development in Stanley Ranch.
That's
so
right.
Tell us about that one, right down there in Carneros.
So Stanley Ranch is an extraordinary piece of property. Once again, in Carneros, which was mostly undeveloped a few years ago, but now is a famous wine-growing region. And this property is actually what's called a flag lot to the city of Napa. So it has a set of entitlements that are associated with the city as opposed to the county. And a development group out of Denver, Nichols Partnership, approached us about this property about 5 years ago. And we were intrigued because Stanley Ranch is right at the crossroads at the beginning of the valley, which will bring in a tremendous amount of business. And it's going to be paired up with a working winery. Now, the winery partner has not yet been identified, but we're going to do about 125 rooms. We'll do residences, up to 50 residences. And as well, there'll be the working winery there. And one of my favorite features is that we're going to have a bike shack right at the beginning where you can get your espresso in the morning and get off on the bike trail.
Perfect.
Yep.
Now, I wonder how far that is from the Vine Trail, actually.
Well, there's a whole series of networks of trails that lead from there. And so you can you go down Stanley Lane and you get to the Vine Trail. Another thing that's interesting is you can literally do a stand-up paddle ride from the Napa River, which is just off the edge of the property, right into downtown Napa. So there are all sorts of adventures you can have.
Oh, how fun!
Yeah.
How fun! Have you met Scott Goldie? He's the owner of the Wine Train. And
oh, right.
He's doing developments, and he's doing a hotel down the rail hotel.
Right,
down
that's
at the
terrific.
station.
Which I think is wonderful because it's going to take cars off the highway and put people into that experience of the wine train. That's a lot of fun. That's great.
And they've got the Rail Arts District down there, which he's super excited about.
Yeah.
It's really come a long way, hasn't it, Napa Valley?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's see. What can you tell me about your family's involvement in hospitality?
Well,
in the valley, you've really had major contributions, right?
It's been a lot of fun, and my dad started it all with his partner Claude Rouas, and really inspired us. We weren't in hospitality before then, but he had been developing condominium resorts in Lake Tahoe and Hawaii and so forth. And then when introduced to Claude, we sort of got into the hotel business, but. Soon after that, Bob and Claude opened Piatti Restaurant in Yountville.
I remember
right.
that, yes.
And then we went to Sonoma, and we had about a dozen Piatti restaurants, which now my brother runs. And Piatti became Red, and then we opened Redwood. So my brother Tim runs the Piatti restaurants. He's running Redwood now, and he has the North Block Hotel. So it's kind of a family business in so many ways. And my older brother, who's a lawyer, he keeps us out of trouble. That's his job.
And what's happening with Red Restaurant?
So Red, sadly, has been closed.
Yeah,
It
well, he
closed
did
up,
13 years, though.
Yeah, and Richard is just one of my favorite people. He is so wonderful. He started out with us as the executive chef at the Auberge du Soleil and was with us 5 years. And he came to us and said, I want to do something on my own.
Yeah.
And so we backed him by converting the Piatti space to Red. And Richard had an incredible run, Michelin 1-star, just a wonderful restaurant. And Richard was always a part of the fabric of the Napa Valley and the community. Gave back so much, but unfortunately, with a few health issues and his desire to move back to the East Coast, it's come to an end. But it's been a glorious run, and he's a wonderful man. We'll miss him.
Oh, yeah. Will it be another restaurant?
Yes. And we're just looking now at putting it back on the market and looking for the best in class to come in into, the gourmet ghetto of Yountville.
Oh, and it is. And tell me, what about your children?
So interesting, my daughter has started her own fashion company. So she's not in the hospitality business. She makes a sustainable product, handbags and so forth. And I'm really proud of her. She started her own business and she got that entrepreneurial bug, I think.
That's great.
My number two, he's down in Los Angeles and overseeing as a project manager the development of hotels. So he's in the business. And then my youngest, he just started with a company called Discovery Land Company, which builds beautiful golf course communities, including Chileno Bay, where we have a resort in Cabo. So yeah, they've all kind of gravitated in a direction, and I'm all proud of all three of them.
The development, they've all got the development bug.
They do.
Creating. And what about you? Do you have anything exciting that you're planning to be involved with?
Well, I've been thinking about that a lot because I've really scaled back on any day-to-day activity at Auberge Resorts and focusing some time on the Auberge du Soleil, which is a family-owned property and is independently managed by us. And I'm thinking about, what's the next thing that I want to do? And one area that's been exciting for me to think about is this whole area of what I'll call well-being or wellness. And I think that there's an opportunity to do a few things there to bring together a more holistic kind of approach. And I don't know, that's exciting. I don't have anything definitive. I want to find a place. Okay. So this isn't about a brand or, the concept is you find a place and do something and you do it carefully and thoughtfully and something that really, matters. So that's what I'm thinking about these days and hope to be, doing something on that before too long. But in the meantime, I'm having some fun too.
But it's very timely. I think it's perfect. And
Thank
I think
you.
Napa Valley, a destination place like that would be fantastic.
Well, it's such a great climate here, and I think the way we live so close to the land here with the wine business and just people have a way of relaxing and letting go and finding the good things in life, whether it's a glass of wine or just being with friends and family and laughing. The simple things, those good things, seem to come out in the Napa Valley in a way that's really special.
Well, if anybody can pull this off, it's you.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very
it's fantastic.
much.
Loved
Yeah,
having
great.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you next week.